This is an Apple TV, and this is an Xbox controller. These two items go together better than you might expect, and today I want to show you how you can use your Apple TV as a game console. Even for retro gaming, if you would like to turn it into a Commodore 64 or maybe even a PlayStation 1. Alright, so the Apple TV itself is pretty underappreciated in my opinion, and I guess it kind of makes sense because Apple hasn't really given it much attention over the years. So this specific model, the Apple TV 4K, uses tvOS, and here is just a home screen with some random apps I have installed. First and foremost, the Apple TV is meant as a way for you to stream and watch your favorite movies, TV series, watch Netflix, Amazon Prime, you know. But it's actually a pretty good game console. And we're gonna start off by looking into Apple's own offerings. So let's start with Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade is a subscription service that I feel is very underutilized. And the reason I say that is because Apple is not very good at marketing this service. Maybe it's better in the US, but over here, very few people even know it exists. And even though Apple Arcade has well over 200 games as of recording this, I still think they could have way more if they really wanted to. So, what is Apple Arcade? Well, it's pretty much like Xbox Game Pass, only for Apple devices. And as of now, it's exclusively indie games. Every game on Arcade is a complete game without any form of in-app purchases. And that alone makes it pretty interesting to me, personally. There is a lot of games out there you would never care to play or try out if you would have to buy them because you're not sure what it is about, but maybe you know this already if you tried Xbox Game Pass. Like, there's just games that you would never buy, but once you try them, you're like, wow, this is actually pretty good. I tried out Sneaky Sasquatch lately, and I gotta say, that's one of those games. It started off like, yeah, just one of those mobile games. I think I have over 10 hours in it now. The performance in Arcade is really good, as you would expect from Apple's offerings. Every game that I tried, at least, has been running a locked 60 FPS. It would probably run way more if it would be unlocked. And it's just smooth as butter. Sadly, for some reason, which I guess it's touch support, not all games are on the Apple TV. A few games are only available on iPad or iPhone, like, I don't know, Goat Simulator, Stardew Valley actually. Quite a few others, and I don't know, I think they should just make all of them available on the TV. They should all be available on every platform. But at least if you do subscribe to Apple Arcade, you get access to those games on other devices like iPhone, iPad, the Mac. So even if you cannot download them directly to the Apple TV, there is a way to get them working on the TV. But we'll come back to that in a bit. Alright, so what does Apple Arcade cost? Well, it's $7 per month, or the equivalent in your currency, or $50 per year. But the thing is, you can also get it in Apple One. So if you have music already and TV Plus, you basically get Arcade for free. Now, is it worth it? Well, that depends solely on what types of games you enjoy. Right now, there is mostly casual games, I would say, but games are being added all the time, and if you factor in the iPad and iPhone versions, I do think it's worth it. I personally think it's worth it just for the ad-free experience alone. And also, they got some games on here you won't find anywhere else, just like Sneaky Sasquatch, Japanese Rural Life Adventure, and a few others. But those are the ones that I have tried and really enjoyed. Alright, so the next option you have for games on the Apple TV is just the regular old App Store. You can go on here, you pay once, and the game is yours. There is a pretty good selection of games to choose from, but the quality varies widely. You got some good ones in here, like SpongeBob, Octodad, that's a good one. Broken Sword 5, I played that entire game on the Apple TV actually a while back. There is a bunch of games on here that I've heard a lot about, but I never tried them myself, mixed in with mobile games of questionable quality. So you basically just have to filter out like you would with any other game client like Steam, for example. Personally, I wouldn't spend too much money on here, but instead just use Arcade, since many of the games you have to pay for here also exists on Arcade. But if you see something you really like Chrono Trigger, that's an amazing game. That's a perfect game to play on bed if you have your Apple TV in the bedroom. Just play for half an hour every day before bed. Also, if you already own games on your iPhone or iPad, chances are you can just re-download them to the Apple TV. A lot of games work on all platforms. You buy once, play it everywhere. That's one thing I really like about Apple. I can buy a game on the Mac and just continue it when I'm traveling on my iPhone. Okay, so what do you do if you want to play more modern AAA games? Well, while the Apple TV at the moment don't support any AAA games, well, yet at least, I have high hopes that the next Apple TV will have either an M chip, probably not, but most likely the A17 Pro chip from the iPhone 15 Pro that also supports ray tracing, that maybe we could finally get some games like Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed on the Apple TV. Who knows? But there is a way to still play those games, but it requires a pretty decent internet connection. One solution is OneCast. This lets you stream your Xbox locally to your Apple TV. The plus is minimal latency as you're using your own local network. So if you got an Xbox and games in another room, this is one way where you get to play those games wherever you have your Apple TV. The minus is, like I said, obviously you need to have an okay internet connection. And even though they boast near zero latency, there will always be some. So it depends how sensitive you are to lag and latency. But if you don't own an Xbox, there is still a way you can play through cloud gaming, Xbox Cloud. But this requires, of course, an Xbox Game Pass, and that of course brings with it more potential for lag and latency. So this will be more suited for slower paced titles as opposed to COD and fast-paced FPS shooters. I'm not a fan of their recent price hike adjustment, so I will not be testing that out myself today. Alright, moving on to my preferred method of playing modern AAA games on the Apple TV, Steam Link. I use this pretty often to continue games that I started in my living room on my PC to just continue playing in bed. Maybe I should stop playing so much on bed. This option requires a PC or a Mac that's, capable of playing games. And it's the same concept as OneCast, except of course, you're now streaming from your PC or Mac. I really like this option because they're using a low latency network protocol, according to their website. It works really well. I have trash internet, like the speeds are okay, but it just disconnects all the time. It truly works like you would play the game natively on your Apple TV, minus some latency. It even lets you play local multiplayer games, so two people can connect a controller to the Apple TV and play together. It's pretty cool. The best option is, of course, if both your PC and Apple TV is connected to the internet through Ethernet cable. But it works just fine over Wi-Fi as well. And I mean, as you can see, the latency, this is really good. Remember, I have trash internet and I'm over Wi-Fi. Neither my PC or Apple TV is connected to Ethernet, so this is very usable. Okay, before we get into retro gaming, I want to mention one more option to play any game you want on your Apple TV. But this option should only be used as a last resort, as the latency can be pretty bad. On any iPhone, iPad or Mac, you can open Control Center and click on Screen Mirroring. This sends whatever is on your screen to the Apple TV. It can work in cases where you have a controller connected to your iPhone or iPad, but you want to see it on the big screen. I have done this a few times, but the latency can be really bad, so I would not recommend this option, but I thought I should just mention it anyway. Next up, retro gaming. Ah yes. The Apple TV can be used as a retro console. Wanna make it into a Super Nintendo? No problem. PlayStation 1? Psh. Atari? I think you're more into Nintendo. That was cringe. Let's move on. RetroArch lets you do that natively without using any form of streaming, cloud gaming, nothing. It works locally on your Apple TV. Just go to the App Store and download RetroArch. This bad boy has over 30 game systems. It's built right in, and the Apple TV works surprisingly well for this. You might have heard of RetroArch before, or maybe you already use it on your PC or phone or whatever, but for those of you who don't know what it is, it basically has all of these consoles built right in, and it lets you transfer all your digital copies of games that you, of course, have obtained legally, and voila, you now have a way of playing them. This is amazing. Like, it's not that long since RetroArch came to the Apple TV, and I was one of those who was like, there's no way this is gonna work. But it actually does. And this model, at least, works flawlessly with most games. I'm trying to think. I've tried the latest PlayStation 1 games with no issues. Of course, as with any form of emulation, some games will work 100%, others not at all. You just have to try each game for yourself. And for many consoles, there is more than one emulator. So if one doesn't work, you just try the next one. Now, I do want to mention something that has been an issue with Apple TV RetroArch before. Apple being Apple, you might notice games and sometimes even saves just go missing. I'm not gonna go into details in this video, but very simplified, the Apple TV doesn't have persistent storage. It doesn't just let you store whatever you want. Depending on how much storage you have left, it might just purge the system to make room for an update or something. And also, if you have screensavers on, that can also become an issue. It just deletes your games to make room for screensavers. And it can do that pretty random. It can be 2 days, or you can have your games for 2 months without anything happen. Some people have never had an issue. But there is a workaround to this in this video from Retro Gamecore, where you can use iCloud instead, which then just that fixes the issue. I will link his video in the description, so if you're interested, make sure to check that out. And again, this video is not a how-to, this is just a general showing you the different ways of playing games on the Apple TVs. Like, for example, RetroArch is easy to get going, but it takes a lot to tune it perfectly however you want it. But I guess that's kind of a good thing. You can tune it however you want it, usually. But quick and easy, the way to get games into RetroArch is to go there to this address on your Mac, but this has to stay open on the Apple TV. If you go away from this screen, you won't get access to the page. That gives you access to folders and files within your Apple TV and the RetroArch system. So as you can see, I just threw some games randomly in here that I had lying around that I own. Now looking more into this, it seems RetroArch now allows you to store saves directly into cloud. So this actually just completely eliminates the issue of deleted saves. So maybe this whole thing I said wasn't not even a point at all. Great. So you just gotta try for yourself. It seems they have fixed the issue, which also shows they're continuing to update all the time. So, there you go. As you can see, there's a lot of ways to make your Apple TV into a pretty capable game console. From native Apple games to AAA games and even retro games. A new Apple TV is on the horizon, and it's gonna be interesting to see if the expected boost in power will make Apple put more graphically intensive games on the platform. I really hope so, because I truly believe this box is underutilized and it can offer so much more. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up and remember to subscribe as well for more Apple related videos. Take care.